All right, we'll try this again. I'm freaking frustrated right now. Sorry. Incredibly frustrated. But we're back. Okay. We're back. Hopefully you all can see me on all the channels. Can you see me on Rockfin? Or am I live on Rockfin? I think I am. All right. Okay. So we're going on Rockfin. We're going on Rumble. We're going on YouTube. Okay. We should be live on all the channels. Yeah. All right. Sorry about that. I'm just going to delete the other. I didn't get that far into the show, but we're live on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble. We're all back here. You can go to YouTube too if you want, whatever. I'm going to have to start the show over again. All right. So awesome. Totally what I wanted to do. Okay. The frustrating thing was that when I went back, so my computer died, but then when it opened up again, the stream was still going in the studio, in the Rumble studio, and I didn't realize that it was not going anywhere else. So I was continuing to do the show as if the stream was still going, but I didn't realize that nobody could see me or hear me. So that, yeah. Anyways, here we are. We're back. We're live on all the channels, so wherever you want to watch, we'll start it again. Is everything good on Rockfin? Is everything good? Can somebody go on YouTube and just tell me if everything's cool on YouTube? That would be great. I think so. All right. Yep. Cool. All right. We'll go from the beginning, I guess, because, yeah, good fun. Well, I was in the middle of trying to do something. I don't know where we ended it, where we stopped. We'll go back to we'll do the Pensacola picture later. Well, let's start again with James Lee and AI. I had a thread, I had a thought in my head, and now everything is totally gone. I don't know where I'm at. We'll do this. Nope, that's not it. This is it. This might be it. Nope. Okay. Let's try again. Is this it? What the fuck? What is going on? Major bug out on my computer. Here we go. All right, we'll start with this. James Lee talking about, just so we can have some context for the show. I can't just like skip out on the whole beginning of the show, because then if somebody comes and watches the show later, I'm going to delete everything, the misstarted shows later. So I don't want it to be completely like, what are you talking about? I don't know. Believe it or not, what people need to understand is the mRNA cancer vaccine is the sweetener. And is it all that sweet? Is a cancer vaccine all that sweet? That's what I want to know. Because we already know, I don't want to get in trouble on YouTube, but we already know about these platforms and, how great they are. Let's listen to James Lee talk about this. Oh.
That vaccine, that mRNA vaccine. So imagine early your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
Yes, a cancer vaccine can apparently be made in just 48 hours, according to
guys.
Larry Ellison. This is going to be one of the biggest hoodwinks of.
Okay, hold on. So now the Rumble Studio is not allowing me to share the screen, and I don't know what is going on. Can you guys, can you stop messing me up? I don't know what is happening, y'all. This is just like a huge, I'm not sure. Today has been an insane boondoggle. Here we go. Now I think you can see him. Okay. Let's just stay here. Here we go.
Once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, and you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
Yes, a cancer vaccine can apparently be made in just 48 hours, according to Larry Ellison. This is going to be one of the biggest hoodwinks of.
Listen. Oh, why did it go away? Cancer vaccines can't be made in 48 hours. They can't be made in 6 months for anything. Okay, they can't. Not safely tested, not thoroughly tested. Vaccines for anything cannot be made in 6 months. Sorry, YouTube, if you want to cite me for whatever. I'll sure, vaccines are safe and effective, and they're delicious, and also stir them and put your vaccines in your coffee and carry them with you in your glove box wherever you go, just in case. But I'm telling you right now, a safe vaccine cannot be made in 6 months. And if anybody tells you different, they're liars. And they're criminal liars. And so we're not going to entertain that kind of nonsense. Not even going to entertain it on YouTube. YouTube, whatever. Do with that what you may. You're freaking nuts. Here we go.
Of all time, and major alarm bells should be going off in your head. Because first off, A, why would they focus on selling you a miracle cure for cancer instead of just trying to prevent cancer in the first place? B, it's interesting how they're marketing this as a vaccine, which conveniently they would not be liable for if something were to go wrong. Even if I give him the benefit of the doubt here, because I believe that some people will be drawn to this kind of miracle cancer cure, do you really trust a CIA agent to have our best interests in mind? Yes, in the 1970s, Larry Ellison's first project was a database codenamed Oracle for the CIA. That was the start of his multi-billion-dollar empire. He wrote in the New York Times, quote, "The single greatest step we Americans could take to make life tougher for terrorists would be to ensure that all the information in myriad government databases was copied into a single comprehensive national security database." The miracle cancer cure thing, that is a marketing ploy. This is all about data, information, and control.
Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
What? What does he say? What did you just say?
But those kind of applications using AI, if we can use AI, and we're using AI to monitor the video.
That is the master plan, using the guise of keeping us safe from terrorism in order to usher in an AI-backed mass surveillance state. What if you don't like that idea? Well, he's probably going to try to convince you, because probably not a coincidence, September of last year, Larry Ellison now controls Paramount Global. So he is the majority shareholder of all of these distribution channels, and these are entertainment channels, also news channels. And as of today, he is now going after TikTok. The one man, Larry Ellison, a billionaire, is now in control of all of the government's data, the future of medicine, policing, the media. We should all be very concerned.
Yeah. And this is, as I was saying before, but I don't know if anybody heard me, but this is what the whole Trump administration is about, is advancing this stuff to the people that otherwise would be skeptical, or that traditionally skeptical. Well, I don't know about traditionally, but it used to be that liberals or lefties used to be plenty skeptical of the military industrial complex, and or the the government in general, or the the fascist encroaching oligarchy in general. Like it used to be that they held that um, position, or they carried that torch, but not so much anymore, I guess. Now it's moved to people on the right, or libertarians, being more skeptical, and I don't know. I don't know where you put liberals or lefties, but the mainstream Democratic vote and liberals or lefties, they tend to be like, yeah, sure, police me harder, daddy. We need that, safety, safety, safety. I'm scared. Got to clutch my pearls because the bad words and stuff and the things and the people are all scaring me. So please protect me from the bad things with your censorship and your good drugs and stuff, science. TM. Anyways, so that's Larry Ellison, and we're going to go on to something from Whitney Webb, who is talking about Sam Altman, who was also on the podium. We're stepping up to the podium with Trump there to push the Stargate initiative on y'all. And this time when I read this, I think everybody will hear me on the video, which will be great. Hemcar says, didn't Russia just make an mRNA cancer? Well, I'm sure they're all trying to get on this. But as Shawnee asked, how about producing like pure food that doesn't, cause cancer? Or maybe we shouldn't surround ourselves in a bubble of plastic. Maybe we shouldn't poison everything that we consume or touch. And then maybe cancer wouldn't be such a problem. But no, let's pump ourselves full of drugs, which may actually do the opposite of the cure. Whatever the cure is supposed to be. Let's watch this. Read this. Whitney Webb says the fact that this guy, she's talking about Sam Altman and Larry Ellison, who's pushing digital ID and says AI surveillance will force us all to be on our best behavior, were platformed day one at the White House, and the executive branch is touting their outsized role in U.S. AI infrastructure, should be major cause for concern. When the powers that be realized that many Americans would resist a great reset, they obviously noticed that most were expecting it from the public sector, so now its implementation is going to come from the private, likely via public-private partnership. People misunderstand the WEF and what it does, in my opinion, but its most obvious and overt goal is as a group, is to facilitate digital transformation and the 4IR, i.e. the Great Reset, via the public-private partnership model. Public-private partnerships do not beget a true free market. They beget crony capitalism and produce state-adjacent corporate monopolies and quasi-monopolies, yet expect that many of those Great Reset policy agendas to be marketed as free market, private sector innovation. Expect some of the independent media figures who claim to be against the Great Reset now support its very policies under different sales pitches. Vigilance matters most when the vocal opponents to these agendas have been distracted and or pacified. Sam Altman saying the AI may require changes to the social contract.
I still expect, although I don't know what, and this is over a long period of time. This is not a like next year or, the year after, that kind of thing. But over a long period of time, I still expect that there will be some change required to the social contract, given how powerful we expect this technology to be. I'm not a believer that there won't be any jobs. I think we always find new things to do. But I do think like the whole structure of society itself will be up for some degree of debate and reconfiguration. I still expect, although I don't know what, and this is
That's frightening. Car asks, I don't get how AI can help with this. What does the AI specific do with this? I think it's what they're saying is like a level of computational speed, which will speed up. Yeah, you're asking about vaccines or medicines in general. I guess it would speed up the computation process in getting these developed, but there's still the whole like testing thing and long-term testing thing and all that. And AI doesn't have, I don't think has anything in there that they can help with. I'm not sure. Anyways, Larry Ellison is out Bill Gatesing Bill Gates. Yeah. All right, let's keep going because man, we're gonna go a little later, guys. So hang in there, but not too much later because now time is a flying. Speaking of public-private partnerships, here's another one from James Lee, and I'm telling you, he's been on Gavin Newsom and the electric companies and their very cozy relationship. And, I'm telling you that if there is a land grab conspiracy, it makes sense that the electric companies who are, funding politicians who are giving them immunity for their, right? Like, oh, they're found guilty, but they're not necessarily punished. And now they're signing laws saying that they're not only not punished, but they can't be held liable, right? But isn't that kind of an easy scapegoat for having these fires start and also get out of control? The negligence. It's a oopsie, right? That's how things happen now. Right? That's how things go down. It's like things were overlooked or, mistakes were made. And it's just one big, oops, sorry, we didn't, yeah, our bad. But like nobody really gets held accountable. Maybe very few people get held accountable. Everybody's allowed to continue operating at scale. Let's look at this from James Lee. We're going to go back to the AI thing. We're going to watch a little bit of Sabine and an AI video, but here we go.
So it looks like utility companies are responsible for starting most of the wildfires in California. And it looks like that was the case again in the recent Eden fires in LA. So guess what Gavin Newsom did when he became governor of California? He passes a law shielding utility companies from wildfire liability. And here is all of the tea.
We are now at 27 lives lost in those devastating wildfires.
We saw an apartment building engulfed in flames. I saw the fire engine pull up this afternoon, a fire captain have one of his firefighters attach a hose to a hydrant, and that hose didn't fill up.
The high school caught fire, homes burning on either side, and that fire over the last few hours just, look at the dust. It's dust right now.
Pacific Gas and Electric Company, PG&E, California's largest utility company, is responsible for igniting tens, if not hundreds of fires. And in 2018, their neglected equipment sparked the Camp Fire, the deadliest wildfire in the state's history. 85 lives lost, the town of Paradise reduced to ash, and over 30,000 residents displaced. And what did Gavin Newsom do? Well, during his 2018 campaign for governor, Newsom took $208,000 in donations from PG&E. And when asked by reporters how he could possibly hold PG&E accountable given their financial support of his campaign, Newsom dismissed the question as, quote unquote, strange.
PG&E was convicted of 6 federal felonies in 2016. After that, you took more than $200,000 to help get elected. How should people trust you to be running the show to come up with the solution?
I wish you luck with whatever you're working on, but that's a strange question.
Is it that strange of a question? And when pressed on whether he would return the money, he said unequivocally, no.
Have you reconsidered giving the money back to PG&E that they contributed to your campaign?
No, my actions, if the suggestion is somehow contributions have changed actions, look what I just passed, look what I just signed.
Newsom was referring to AB 1054, a bill he signed into law in 2019 that looked like he was holding PG&E accountable, but in reality, the bill gave PG&E everything they wanted. The legislation introduced what they call safety certificates, except these safety certificates didn't actually require utility companies like PG&E to make their equipment safer, only to have a plan to make it safer. The law also allowed PG&E to tap into a $21 billion state insurance fund, half paid for by taxpayers, while shielding the company's shareholders from liability for fires their negligence caused. You see, he's clever because on the surface, it appeared that he's introduced an additional safety mechanism here in these safety certificates. But in reality, he's actually making things easier for the utility companies. Former members of the California Public Utilities Commission, the body responsible for granting these safety certificates, have alleged that Newsom's administration pressured them to rubber stamp approvals. One commissioner revealed that the decisions were micromanaged by Newsom's office with clear signals to greenlight certifications regardless of the utility's actual safety improvements.
Governor Newsom's office was micromanaging the PUC?
Yes. Yes. Anything that we sent out, anything that we produced publicly had to go through the governor's office.
As for the victims of PG&E's negligence, Newsom worked a deal where they would be paid in part with PG&E stock instead of a cash restitution. Predictably, the stock plummeted, leaving them billions short of what they were owed. Meanwhile, PG&E's creditors, including clients of Newsom's close friend and lobbyist Jason Kinney, were paid in full. And if the name Jason Kinney sounds familiar, it should. He was the host of Newsom's now infamous French Laundry dinner during the pandemic. If you remember, while Californians were under strict COVID lockdowns, Newsom dined maskless at a $350 a plate restaurant with Kinney, a PG&E lobbyist. That's Gavin Newsom in a nutshell.
He is going to overlook the basics of what we need in our state to cover for whoever he has made a deal with, and we are going to be sacrificed for that.
Governor, PG&E on its most recent earnings call said that it was going to go back to paying a dividend later this year. Meantime, the 70,000 wildfire victims are still waiting on their payments. They're being told not to expect to be paid in full. I'm curious to know whether you think that's fair and why, but more importantly, after your administration said that the state should ensure fire victims are treated fairly and fully compensated, is there anything, what do you plan to do to try to get those victims to 100% of what they're owed?
Well, we're here talking about the pending looming fire that's in front of us, and I appreciate the question on PG&E. That's well-established territory in terms of the comments we've made and the work we did
What a pompous
collectively, not only as administration in partnership with the legislature. I don't know about the dividends call at PG&E, and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Why is it fair that they pay their shareholders but not their victims?
I'm sorry.
He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. You see it on his face. When you bring it up, he's like, oh God, this again. And how many people in California have been affected by this?
There you go. There's another wrinkle to the public-private partnership. I think, right, that you have these utility companies, very cozy relationship with the people in power, with the current governor, and can do no wrong, can do whatever they want, are shielded from liability, and they can keep on making mistakes and oopsies, and then Gavin Newsom can go like, yeah, we're having talks about potential investors coming in, prospectors coming in and grabbing the land, What? Okay. that was a little bit of a sidetrack there. But I guess, we're talking about corruption, future corruption, potential corruption, AI-driven corruption, public-private partnership, corruption. All right, we're just going to go through some random. I got kind of knocked off track in my trajectory today, so we go through some random posts. Huntington Beach is going to be in Orange County has declared that they are a non-sanctuary city, so they're going to be cooperating fully with Trump to. I don't know what what does this look like actually? I don't know. Nobody knows yet. The Huntington Beach City Council voted to approve the initiative brought by Mayor Pat Burns to declare the city of Huntington Beach a non-sanctuary city for illegal immigration for the prevention of crime. Wow. So I wonder, I'm sure that is making, whoever is here, whoever's in the city of Huntington Beach, illegally, they've got to be awful nervous, right? Or people who are, related to, working with people who are undocumented. This is going to be, this has got to be scary news, right? I mean, and this is flying in the face of the idea that California or a lot of cities, larger cities in California are sanctuary cities. And they're talking directly to Governor Newsom about, I almost called him gruesome. They're saying they're going to sidestep the governor's efforts to subvert the good work of federal immigrant authorities and announce the city's cooperation with the federal government. The Trump administration and border czar Tom Homan well, let's hope it doesn't get too crazy. What would make sense is, if you want to stop immigration, that's one thing. But if somebody's already here, it'd be great to give people a path to citizenship, or at least, acknowledge they're here. As I've always said, like, I think all people should be taken care of. However, we'll see. It's a large argument, right? Whether people should be allowed in or taken care of, or people have very differing views on it, and it's a contentious subject, right? People from all different stripes of the political spectrum have very differing views on there. It's not monolithic, right? It's not everybody on the left thinks one way, everybody on the right thinks another way. That is absolutely not that. People have very different views on this, and my personal view on this is that that this whole subject is disingenuous, right? This whole issue is one that's kind of how long has the immigration issue has been around for a long time and been the forefront of political campaigns for decades now, right? And it's one that's used as kind of a cudgel. It makes people, extreme on both sides. It's hard to have, you're not really allowed to have like a nuanced, calm discussion about this, because you gotta, you gotta ramp up the emotions on each side, and make it about like, on the right, it's like, yeah, you gotta, they're here illegally, they're taking jobs and all that kind of stuff, and which is, personally, I think it's way more nuanced and way more like partisan than it should be. And I think it's something that's allowed to happen in order to undermine and to undermine wages, and that's true, right? Like they've already shipped off a lot of jobs, they've outsourced a lot of jobs to other countries, undermining unions, undermining the pay and the stability and the living wages of the people that are already here. First generation on down. Um, and so it's this. They absolutely, right and left. They absolutely encourage, and welcome people who are going to be willing to come in and work for less than even the minimum wage sometimes, or less than what other people expect to be a fair living wage here. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely happening. That's been happening. Again, this is an issue that is like, it's very disingenuous. What their true intentions are, what the intentions of the government are around this are. They're not really giving people. They're not really spelling it out for people. And they're not allowing people to have. Again, they're not allowing for people to have a constructive, nuanced conversation about it. All right, let's keep going. I think though, in the end, also there was last time Trump was president, there were people that were like really, who were really. There were people that were really worried and nervous and all that about like what was going to happen. There was like extreme emotions around in the first like week or couple of weeks of Trump's presidency, but like, over time, like all of that kind of faded away and things were just, they were what they were. I'm sure there were deportations. There were deportations under Biden and under Obama as well. People get deported. That's what happens. But is there going to be like a major shift in, people's lives that are here? I kind of doubt it. If there is, I would be surprised, not pleasantly, but I would be surprised. Um, it was more about rhetoric, right? Like at the very beginning of Trump's presidency last time, everybody was like, "Oh my God, oh, it's all crazy," and then like a year or two later, like everything was just, you know, um, things had kind of settled back into a normal state. So yeah, well, outsourcing, yeah, and isn't that what the oligarchy is all about? Isn't that what the corporate state is all about? Is trying to pay you less and less for, or pay less for work that people should be getting paid a living wage for? I mean, yeah. Um, and that what has been happening to wages all around in the United States. Like they've been, as far as like a worker's a living wage, like they're trying to keep up with it. Yes, places are paying people a little more to even work fast food, but like it's not keeping up with the cost of living. Not at all. You can't even live on $20 an hour. No way. The cost of living in Southern California, you cannot live on $20 an hour. And I think the minimum wage right now is around 16. It's like 16 something in California. But try living on $20 an hour in California. Nope. Very difficult. You're going to be scraping. All right. Let's keep going. And the federal minimum wage has not been raised in 20 years, almost 20 years. And it is still 7.25 or something like that. which is who is living on $7.25? I wonder if anybody. I wonder what states or in what areas people are still being paid a minimum wage at $7.25. I imagine that that would be almost nowhere. Like $7.25 is laughable. $10 an hour is laughable in most places. Like I don't know that anybody could even expect to get paid $10 or less an hour for any job. But well, we talked about the citizenship thing the other day. A judge I mean, it's unconstitutional. The birthright citizenship thing is unconstitutional. I don't know if he's going to be able to get around that. It's already been blocked. And I expected as much. And I don't think you're not going to be able to, it's in the 14th Amendment. It's going to be very difficult to get around that. It's unconstitutional. And I don't know, let's put it this way. They might do a legal battle over this, but how long is that legal battle going to happen? How many, blocking or unblocking of this executive order are going to happen over the next few years? I don't see this really standing. Again, you never know. Judge in Seattle blocks Trump order on birthright citizenship nationwide. A federal judge in Seattle blocks temporarily President Donald Trump's attempt to rescind birthright citizenship. The idea spelled out in the Constitution that every person born in the United States is an American citizen. Anyways, U.S. District Judge John Coffenauer on Thursday was blistering in his criticism of Trump's action as he granted a temporary restraining order that blocks Trump's executive order from taking effect nationwide. I've been on the bench for over 4 decades. I can't remember another case where the question presented is as clear as this one. This is a blatantly unconstitutional order. Coffenauer, an appointee of Ronald Reagan, said from the bench, there are other times in world history where we can look back. People of goodwill can say, where were the judges? Where were the lawyers? Someone asked, is the executive order constitutional? Is this executive order constitutional? Hold on one second. Coffenauer is speaking to a standing room only courtroom in downtown Seattle, interrupted before Brett Schumont, a Justice Department attorney, could even complete his first sentence. Someone asked him if this executive order was constitutional. Schumont said it absolutely is. Coffenauer said, frankly, I have difficulty understanding how a member of the bar could state unequivocally that this is a constitutional order. It just boggles my mind. The executive order will be blocked for 14 days. While lawsuits in Washington and elsewhere proceed, Washington will next seek a preliminary injunction from Coffenauer, which would continue to block the executive order as cases move along. Yeah, I really don't think this is gonna. I really don't think this is gonna stand, and might be just. This is one of those things where, like, Trump. I think this happened. Well, it did happen in the first Trump administration, where he came in and just started like, shoo, boom, 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 doing all these things, and everybody was like hair on fire, and and there were plenty of things that Trump did do that were absolutely unconstitutional and also dangerous. But like most of the things that he, that got a lot of attention in the first week of his first administration, like ended up kind of fading out, right? Like they just weren't things that were like big players in his administration. I think half of these things that he's signing and half of these things that he's proclaiming to do are either red, they're red herrings. They're not real, right? They're 3-card Montes, or they're not even things that he's intending to like go forward with. Anyways, oh, by the way, the ban on foreign aid, right? He has paused all foreign aid for like 90 days, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's great," except for Israel and Ukraine. So again, these are not, all of these things that he's putting forward that seem to be on one side seem to be like, "Oh, these are great. This is wonderful. This is exceptional. Way to go." They're not real, or they're not really intended to do the thing that everybody seems to be so excited about. Let's look at that actually. Give me 1 second. Let's look at that for a moment. This is Politico. Trump's aid freeze leaves weapons flowing to Ukraine. So I think the places where people felt like this would most be needed are the places that are exempt, right? And wasn't a lot of his campaign rhetoric around like ending the Ukraine war and even maybe trying to find some kind of peace accord in Israel? And that, again, these are fake fake assertions, or even fake fake machinations of the Trump administration. Trump's aid freeze leaves weapons flowing to Ukraine. Reconstruction aid may be affected by the freeze. Okay. And Joe Biden, the administration transferred all the funds under the ERA initiative, $50 billion to the World Bank. Ukraine's military aid will also not be affected as Trump's executive order applies to international assistance under the development programs of the United Nations, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So, most of these things are smoke and mirrors, huff and puff. In fact, going back to the birthright citizenship thing, I think that, I feel like that is I feel like Trump absolutely knows that is not going to ever fly. And so, but he's just doing it to appease the base, right? To give them something to be like, yeah, all right, yeah, calm, yeah, Trump, yeah, freedom. He's just doing that to give people some red meat. But he's not intending to really push that whole issue, because that is an insane fight. That's a major battle, a major legal battle that I don't think he intends to really like carry through. And that's a good plan. Scott Andrews says, I don't pay much attention to Trump's announcements for the sake of my sanity. Yeah. Or if you do pay attention to his announcements, I would say, like, what's the real, what's the real purpose of these things that he's doing? Like, what's underlying the intent? What's the real intention? Hold on. Let's look at it. U.S. stops work on foreign aid after Trump orders review. However, we're looking at Israel and Egypt also get waivers. Let's see. Hold on. Marco Rubio issued a waiver for emergency food assistance, according to the memo. Well, that's good. This comes amid a surge of humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip after a ceasefire between Israel and Palestine militants. Although I feel like that we've seen that the ceasefire is not necessarily being adhered to. Rubio has issued a waiver for emergency food assistance. Well, okay. I don't know if that has anything to do with that. Israel receives about, let's see, the State Department memo also said waivers have so far been approved by Rubio for foreign military financing for Israel and Egypt. Okay, so, yeah. Other states identified for such financing, and I don't know if these are the states that are included in the waiver, but I'm not sure. Ukraine, Georgia, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Taiwan, and so it's a whole list of folks. All right, so this is a lot of like bluster. Have the ICE raids started yet? I don't know. Have you all seen anything about that? I have not seen anything about that. Don't forget that Obama deported more people during his administration than Trump did during his administration. So you can do it. You can do it loudly, or you can do it quietly, I guess. Let's see. Let's look at a little bit of some climate news. You guys already saw this, but it's kind of amazing that Pensacola, Florida is under snow. Juneau, Alaska has no snow whatsoever. So when people say, where's global warming at? Just tell them that Alaska has no snow, and there you go. It's too warm for snow in Juneau. Made a rhyme. Yeah, I think, again, like, I feel like this whole, most of what Trump is doing this week is like a shock and awe. Like, oh, I'm going to sign all these orders. Oh, and everybody's going to be like, oh my God. But what is really going to unfold, in the next few months? Like, what's really going to be pushed? What's really going to be pursued? What is the real intention of all of these orders and/or policy decisions in the first couple of weeks of the Trump administration? Like, you got to look beyond it. You also have to realize that he's doing this to appease people, to make people happy, or make people, rattle people's cages, and then come back in about 90 days and tell me what's really going on. Say, what, Caleb? What was going on? What? I've not heard anything like that. I don't know what that is. Is that a real story? I forgot. I don't know who sent me this. World's top wheat exporter makes concerning decision. After experiencing heavy losses, the profitability of grain crops is approaching zero. Did Denver link this? I think Denver sent this to me, but I might be wrong. This is from January 20th. In the cool down, Russian farmers, the world's most prolific wheat producers, are pivoting away from the crop to more profitable ones after a year of significant losses due to extreme weather events. What? Extreme weather events? You don't say. Yeah, I mean, Extrabola, yeah, he might want to. I feel like these things are just meant to waste people's time, right? Like, and to get people like, yeah, he's going to work, kind of in the same way that like, are they firing federal employees? I think they had a hiring freeze. Are they actually firing federal employees? I don't know. I haven't seen that yet, but maybe I'm wrong. If you have evidence of that, I will certainly share that out. I saw that there was a hiring freeze. I did not see that he was actually firing people, but I don't know. He is a blowhard. Yeah, I mean, he's putting stuff out there just to get people all like, which is a cover. It's a distractionary tactic. It's in the same way that like when a Democrat president comes in, everybody's like, oh yeah, he's going to do all these great things, and he's going to give us Medicare for all, and he's going to, it's going to be the next FDR, and he's going to do, it just gets everybody all like, he's got it, I'm good, and then people stop paying attention, like they turn off. He's doing the work, all right, he's got it. They turn off, and then they come back 6 months later, and they're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know anything. No, nothing. Okay. Right. So going back to this report from Russia that they're going to pivot away from wheat. According to a report from Malay Mail, Russian farmers have decided to plant less wheat and focus more on peas, lentils, and sunflowers after a year of catastrophic losses and low prices drove the profit margin close to zero. Russia's wheat crop production dropped to 83 million tons in 2024, after sitting at 92.8 million tons in 2023 and a record 104.2 million tons in 2022. Frosts and drought that killed significant portions of the crops were to blame, as were massive rains during harvesting season that made getting the wheat out of the ground almost impossible. Massive rains, you say? No, absolutely. There's absolutely no global warming. So everything's fine. Add falling wheat prices around the globe, and farmers have started pivoting to other crops in an effort to make a profit. Profitability of grain crops is approaching zero, said Dmitry Garnov, CEO of Rostagro Group, Rostagro, which owns massive swaths of farmland in rural Russia. The company has reduced the volume of winter wheat sowing by 30%. There are two drivers now: soybeans and sunflower. Why is crop loss important? I don't know. Tell me more. Climate-related crop loss is increasing around the world as weather patterns shift and change due to our warming planet, and weather events such as droughts and massive storms have become more common. Crops that thrive in one place are much tougher to farm now. Russian farmers are abandoning wheat in favor of more profitable crops with less risk, including soybeans, sunflowers, and lentils. I just read that. They just are stating the same thing over and over. I love when articles do that. Just make sure you get the information just jammed in there. Yeah, I told you I was watching the Interstellar movie the other night. It's, talks kind of referencing climate change. Although they say it's because of blight. They said it was because of blight. You smoke wheat every day? My God, man. Come on, get it together. All right, moving on. These are farm workers there was a big fire in the Castaic Lake area, which they have started to get under control, which is good. But there was a lot of smoke, and these are Ventura County strawberry workers who are harvesting crops in thick smoke. Apparently, by law, they have to be supplied with proper masks to do this work, but it doesn't look like anybody's wearing a mask there. Let's see. Let's see. I'm just trying to see what I'm going to bring to you next. Well, here's from Jimmy Dore. This might be a reason why they're talking about mRNA cancer vaccines. I think I saw somebody saying that you can't vaccinate against cancer, but I don't know. This is Jimmy Dore says, this is a sad comedy. CNBC brings on former corrupt head of the FDA, who is now on the board of Pfizer, and ask him if the Pfizer COVID vax is causing a spike in cancer and making everyone sicker. It definitely is not. No way. Okay, so just know that. Safe and effective. Of course, there's no one there to challenge the criminal Pfizer guy because Pfizer has bribed CNBC with truckloads full of cash so they won't bring on someone to contradict him. It's like watching a comedy sketch. And you know the lines already and how it ends ahead of time, but it's still funny. He is actually revealing. A CNBC news anchor reveals that friends and family are developing cancer and strokes at an alarming rate. He dares to ask the questions many are too afraid to ask. Could the rise in strokes, cancers, and illnesses be linked to the boopity boop? Boop, boop, boop. Critical thinking is not a conspiracy. People deserve answers. So let's listen.
Note, I tweeted this out. A friend of mine, and if you're watching, I love you, diagnosed stage 3 breast cancer yesterday. Okay. Close family members of mine have had it. Another buddy of mine just had a stroke. He's nonverbal now. Buddy of mine was in a hospital for 3 days, just got out yesterday or 2 days ago, RSV pneumonia. I know I'm getting older. I know we're all getting older. Is it just me or is everybody sick? Like the level of RSV, pneumonia, all this stuff going around, strokes, breast cancer. New York Times did a story on breast cancer spiking. Doctor, can you give us an answer as to why? Because you know where I'm going with this. A lot of people point to COVID and maybe even the COVID vaccine because they don't know. What is it?
Yeah, look, we don't know is the answer. Some cancers are going up. You're right. Colon cancer in particular, the incidence has been going up, particularly in young
under
people.
30, yep.
Right. So we don't understand that. Some people believe it's related to changes in the U.S.
We don't know. We have no idea. When it comes to making these things, we totally know what we're doing. But, when it comes to, the, I don't know, coincidental rise in cancers, well, we don't know. We have no idea.
Diet. As far as the infectious disease.
Must be the diet.
That's going around. We have had a difficult season with flu, with COVID, with RSV. Those rates look like they're coming down across most of the country right now, with the exception of norovirus, which is still going up. The strain of norovirus that's circulating right now is a new strain, so a lot of people probably don't have baseline immunity to it, and that's why you're seeing so many people getting it and so many people getting sick. That's about the incidence of norovirus right now is probably 2x what it was in the last 5 years in prior seasons. So there is more of that going around right now.
Let me ask you a difficult question. Did we hurt ourselves in some ways by avoiding stuff for so long that now these super bugs have been created? Otherwise, I'm just not sure what's going on.
Yeah, well, with the flu season, RSV.
How are superbugs created? Do I need to spell it out? They're usually created from being resistant to ineffectual, whatever, you know what I'm saying. Hold on one second. I'm going to play the rest of this, but I'm looking for something else to play it.
And COVID this year, the levels of infection weren't out of proportion to what we've seen from the historical norm going back maybe 10 years. There was a rebound after COVID because people were sequestered and a lot of these pathogens didn't circulate. I think we've worked through that and we're getting back to more of a normal baseline for these kinds of seasonal viruses.
Okay. So they're kind of talking openly and freely about the rise in cancers and strokes. Nobody knows why. It's a mystery. And, you know, you can't draw any conclusions about that. And is anybody looking into it? I don't know. Andrew Schultz talking about Anthony Fauci's pardon. We've already talked about the fact that, like, they're giving him a preemptive pardon, meaning he's totally not guilty, but we're going to pardon him just in case he's guilty of something. Okay? Here's Andrew Schultz. Hold on.
But Fauci took the pardon. Fauci could say, I don't want the pardon. I don't think I did anything wrong. But he took the pardon.
I don't blame anybody for taking a pardon.
I do, because now you're guilty. Because there are a lot of people that were on the January 6th committee that were offered a pardon, and they said no. They're like, I did my job. I was supposed to investigate this. I did what I was supposed to do. I don't want the pardon.
If you're Fauci, you're not taking a pardon?
What's in my arm, yo?
What's in your arm, not mine.
That's what I'm saying. What's in my arm, yo? Why are you taking a pardon? What's in my arm, yo?
Okay.
What's in my arm?
I'm taking that part. I don't give a fuck.
If I put some shit in my arm, you're not allowed to get pardoned. You told me I need to put some shit in my arm. Now you can't go get pardoned. You gotta hold the weight of that decision. That's your job. What's in my arm, yo?
I mean,
what's about to come out?
You ain't wrong. Like, it looks a suspect. It definitely looks crazy suspect. Yeah.
I think it's because they lied about knowing it was a man-made virus, knowing it came from China, whatever. They were lying about the origins of it. That's what my first thought. Could be the vaccine too, but I tend to think they covered up when they knew where it was from.
Yeah. You lie about one thing, you lie about the other. All of a sudden, you got to keep lying to keep up the lie. There's a lot of lies going on. What's in my arm, man? What is inside my arm?
But you're good.
What's in my arm?
Yep. All right. Thanks for the tip on Rockfin. Rich Diana throwing down a 50 spot. Thanks, Rich. He asks, is this the new climate refugee channel? I'll be joining soon. Welcome aboard, stranger. What's up, Rich? Good to see you, man. Thanks for hanging out. Rich is I feel like Rich is officially OG at this point. Some of y'all have been on this channel for like 4 or 5 years. That's OG status right there. For sure. Bella goes all the way back to my first week on YouTube. Or my first week of doing this show. And I'm trying to think of anybody else who might have been here. There were a couple of people in that first like week or month of my show that are still watching the show. Still watching the show. Kind of amazing. If I'm missing you, please shout it out. Raise your hand. Let me know. There was a drone attack on Russia. Whew, I can't keep up. I can't keep up. Yeah, so is there an oil crash? Somebody's saying that Trump is trying to, oh, this is the Duran, yeah. The Trump is trying to crash oil prices in order to get to collapse Russia. I don't know. I have to watch this one. I saw that in passing, and I was like, "What? What?" I'll have to check that out. But if you crash oil, you crash the economy of the planet. that's kind of the thing. So, if you want to, I don't know. I think you're gonna crash a lot of things if you do that. Black Bear News was in the evenings. Yes, in the olden times, Black Bear News was in the evenings. In the olden times, Black Bear News was RedLlamaMusic when I was doing it on that channel. That was a long time ago. That was like 6 or 7 years ago. All right, I'm kind of winding down here, y'all. I don't have any more steam. Let's look at this from Whitney Webb about stablecoins. So, Trump, passed a stablecoin or a anti-CBDC executive order, and everybody's like, "Yeah, you get him, Trump, you get him," and everybody's like, "Big up on Trump." But this is Whitney Webb is going to point out how this is not the actual intention. It's not the thing that people think it is. Again, he's throwing out like, "Oh, Trump wins. He's throwing out all these things to people to make them think like, all right, it's a new day. A new day is dawning. It's different. It's a different place, man. But what is really happening behind the scenes is the thing to pay attention to. Not only that, but Trump pulling out of the WHO is not the thing that people think it is. He's still in bed with Bill Gates and the Gavi Foundation. Whitney Webb. Okay, so Ian Carroll tweeted this out about the CBDC thing, and he, to Ian Carroll's credit, he is asking a question: is this fake or is this real? He's not sure. He's pointing out that he thinks this is a good thing, but he doesn't know whether this is real. Okay, everyone's talking about the JFK declassification, but we just got a ban on all CBDC projects of any kind. We didn't even talk about the JFK thing. Maybe I'll have to do a show tomorrow. I don't know. Might have to talk about all the wrinkles of what's going on, but he did sign an executive order supposedly releasing, but it's not a real thing. It's not a real thing. Supposedly releasing the files on JFK, MLK, and all this CIA subterfuge. We just got a ban on all CBDC projects of any kind. Am I missing something? This is a huge FU to the banking cartel and the money changers. The plans to get out ahead of a new era of digital currency. Is it fake? Or is it a fake out? And Whitney Webb is like, yeah, it's a fake out. It is a provable is a provable fake out. What the banking cartel has been asking for. Trump's executive order is all about dollar stablecoins being used to extend dollar hegemony. And the dollar stablecoins are just as programmable, surveillable, and seizable as a CBDC. Again, this is another public-private partnership fake out, right? You're not issuing something federally. You're issuing something that is in the hands of, Tether or XRP or or Circle, right? The stable or PayPal or Twitter, XPay. Right? PayPal has a stable coin now. So you're going to issue something that is in the hands of a private entity, making people feel a little safer about it because it's not a federally controlled CBDC. But it will be controlled much in the way that social media is controlled by the federal government or by the intelligence agencies. It's not, with the private thing, like the electric companies and the private thing allows them to be shielded from having to follow the law of like free speech or being a publisher, right? Social media companies famously cite that they are, a private corporation and they don't have to follow they're not regulated like the phone, like a phone company, or they're not regulated like a public utility would need to be regulated. But it's bullshit, right? Because they are absolutely controlled, not owned, but controlled and operated by the intelligence agencies, right? That they have the bottom line in what gets censored or published or whatever. Look at YouTube. So they cite the private part of their existence as the reason why they don't need to follow the law or uphold the law in that sense, but they can basically do whatever they want because they're a private corporation. Again, going back to the CBDCs, this is what is going, if they're privately issued, they can do whatever they want without being under the purview of federal regulations necessarily. But they can also be surveilled, programmed, whatever, turned on and turned off by the government. But like, oh, we're a private corporation, right? We're just doing this for people's safety. We just, we don't want the bad guys on our platform. Isn't that what we hear from social media companies? Is the same rhetoric. Anyways, the only difference is that a central bank isn't issuing them directly, and it maintains the two-tier banking system, which is what Wall Street has been lobbying for once digital dollar discussions began in earnest. In the US, mass surveillance is a public-private partnership. Why would surveillable digital money be any different? Kudos to Mark Goodwin for calling out the dollar stablecoins, and they would be a de facto CBDC. He called them out several years ago. If you, Ian, she's talking to Ian Carroll, or anyone else reading this is interested, Mark and I dissected why the CBDC was being moved to the private sector in the US in December 2023. In this article, notably, this very stablecoin play was the key aspect of the FTX scandal. I'm gonna have to look at this article. I'm not gonna read it right now. Anyways, again, most of what Trump is passing, most of what Trump is doing is a fake out. Most of what Trump is doing is masking or hiding the real intention behind whatever it is, whatever executive order or whatever mandate or policy that he's pushing. I doubt that many of the things he's signing and or pushing are ever going to come to fruition. The real policy, the real underlying position is going to reveal itself later. So just keep that in mind going forward. Again, you never know. You never know with Trump. Keep your eyes open. Just keep your eyes open. Keep your, prepare for the worst, etc. And the main thing touted by the Trump administration and people who voted for him, is the whole like freedom, free speech, freedom from oppression. We just want to do our thing. We want businesses to be able to do their thing. We want people to make money and be rich and just be happy. And we don't want no communist government regulations getting in the way of our freedom and our freedom and our freedom and our big trucks and our, McMansions and all that kind of good stuff. But like, that's what people feel like they voted for. And that's not what they're going to get. What they're going to get is probably something much different than that. Anyways, Poppy Davis is Melania for CIA director. Anyways, yes, this is the climate refugee channel. Rich, everyone else. I don't think that's all we're going to be running from. Not just the climate refugee channel, but like maybe even surveillance refugees. Maybe even big tech refugees. Who knows? Maybe even consumerism gone wild refugees. All right. I think that's it, guys. I gotta go. Got to sign off for today, and I don't know. I might show up this weekend. I don't know. Can't promise anything, but keep an eye out. At the very least, I will be back on Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific, usual time. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks everybody that contributed. I don't know. Let's see if I have anybody else to thank besides Rich. I don't think so. I'm not sure. Poppy Davis says there is no refuge. Aye, scary. Probably not. I think that's it for me, guys. Don't see anything else. All right, guys. Have a good night. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your weekend if I don't see you before Monday. And until next time, peace.